In this video, we are going to talk about a pendulum. And the pendulum is just a mass that's swinging on the end of a string is pretty much the simplest way we can look at it. And so I have a 200-gram mass swinging on the end of a rope there. And we're just going to time how long it takes to go back and forth a couple of times. Okay, so we're going to end up with, call it 1. I'm sorry, let's do this again. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to come up with 15.54 seconds for 200 grams. Okay, well, so now let's swap that out. Let's replace it with a 500-gram mass. So, is the 500-gram mass going to go faster or slower? Well, you decide, hit pause, take a second to think about it, and then we'll see. Wait for it to stop banging against the table. Maybe move it over like that a little bit so it can bang on the other table. And we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I get 15.86. Okay. Now, the short answer is that mass doesn't matter, and the mass doesn't matter. So, when we go and we look at the equation, the one thing we're going to find is that the mass is not part of our equation. Now, what we need to know is that there is a very, very, very slight difference. This one will be just a slight bit slower, about 0.3 seconds slower. But the reason is how we have to measure the length of our pendulum. Okay. Some places you just say, well, the length of the pendulum is the length of the string. But the length of the pendulum is not the length of the string. And then other people might say, well, it's just the length all the way down to the bottom of the mass. But it's not the length of the way all the way down to the bottom of the mass. The length that we are looking for is we are looking to go to the center of mass of the weight. And so we're going to say right about there. And so if I measure this out, I'm going to get roughly, I'm going to call it 61.5 centimeters. Roughly. Now, when I put the 200-gram mass on there, because my 200-gram mass is a little bit smaller, I'm going to measure that distance as, probably about 59 centimeters. Or 58.5, somewhere in there. Just making a rough guesstimate. But I could see that it's clearly about 3 centimeters shorter. So since it's 3 centimeters shorter, it's actually going to go just a little bit quicker. Well, it's about, we'll call that's about 5%. It's about 5% shorter. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to double up, we're going to flip this over, and we're going to make it shorter. Now you might say, well, you're going to make it half as long. But it's going to be not quite half as long because remember that I'm not changing the size of my mass. So now, instead of 58.5, we will now call it 30.5. So I've sort of cut it in half, but not really have cut it in half. Half would have been 29 something, and it's at 30.5. Okay, so now let's measure how long it takes for that one to go back and forth. Well, that one to go back and forth, it's going to be, you can already see it's quicker. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to come up with 11.14 as the time for the 200 grams on that mass. Okay. And so I think that's the data that I want to take, and we're going to go back and we're going to analyze that.